A gas company in Texas is planning to build a new natural gas pipeline. It would run through several states. That includes parts of Shelby County, Kentucky. And now neighbors in Simpsonville are coming together to protest this project.
And those concerns say that leaks could lead to explosions, putting lives and homes at risk. Wave News reporter Fernando Garcia Franceschini explains why developers say that the new pipeline is needed and why neighbors say their backyards are not equipped for it.
If you walk around the Vandevelde family farm in Simpsonville, you may stumble across some of this pink tape. It's scattered all across this 10-acre farm, and it alerts people of these massive sinkholes. These sinkholes are the reason why the family says no gas pipeline should be built here. Texas Gas is proposing the construction of a 265-mile natural gas pipeline. On their website, company leaders say the proposal, called the Borealis Project, is necessary to help meet growing energy demands. Under the current plan, the new gas pipeline would run through parts of Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky, including Jerry Vandevelde's farm in Shelby County.
For the sake of the almighty dollar, hundreds of people, hundreds of homes are going to be put at risk. All right.
Vandevelde strongly opposes the project, particularly because his farm and the neighboring land stands on karst terrain, meaning it's filled with sinkholes and underground drainage systems.
It's very possible that this is going to subside. That's going to stress the pipe, perhaps cause cracks or leaks, and then if there's a source of ignition, you could have an explosion.
On their website, developers say the route of the pipeline could change after further studies. They also say the project is expected to increase tax revenue in participating counties, but Vandevelde feels the benefits to neighbors themselves are slim to none.
Well, this Texas gas line is not for any kind of residential use. Nobody along the pipeline is going to have access to natural gas. We all are on propane tanks now.
The project is regulated at the federal level, so Vandevelde says there may not be much neighbors can do to stop this, but for now they're coming together trying to at least get Texas Gas to move this as far away from them as possible.
Some things just shouldn't be that close to homes and people.
We reached out to Texas Gas for comment on this story, but have not heard back. In Shelby County, Fernando Garcia Franceschini, Wave News.